A sunny day illuminated Peppa Pig's garden. Peppa and George noticed strange things. A ball rolled on its own. A swing swayed gently with no wind. They decided it was a new, invisible friend. George was delighted, giggled, whispered into the void. Peppa felt a slight unease. The invisible friend became George's constant companion. Their games grew stranger. George played hide-and-seek where only he saw his playmate, or held tea parties where cups floated. Peppa tried to join, but George waved her off, saying it was their game. He became quieter, his gaze often fixed on nothing. Responses grew short. Mummy Pig found this new quiet in the house soothing. She didn't notice her son drifting away, only enjoying the calm. The invisible influence gently enveloped her, making her less attentive to Peppa's worries. Daddy Pig felt something was wrong, but couldn't pinpoint what. His attempts to engage the family were met with blank stares. He attributed it to fatigue. Soon, a new neighbor, Fiona, moved in. She quickly noticed the family's unusual behavior. She tried to strike up a conversation, but Mummy Pig and George were absorbed in their thoughts, their eyes wandering. Fiona felt a chill of unease. The invisible friends' games grew frightening. Objects levitated. Whispers turned into insistent murmurs. The family began to see things that weren't there. Peppa was terrified. She saw her parents and brother slipping away. One dreadful night, the invisible friend's influence reached its peak. It didn't take them physically, but transformed them into extensions of its own reality. Mummy Pig and George became completely absorbed, their eyes reflecting an otherworldly glow, movements synchronized with an unseen force. Daddy Pig realized the horror, but it was too late. His gaze also began to dim. Peppa, gripped by panic, tried to reach out to Daddy Pig, but he had almost succumbed. With Fiona's help, Peppa managed to escape the house, leaving her family behind. They watched from a distance as the pig family's house glowed with an unnatural light. The invisible friend continued its games, and its influence spread like a silent epidemic. The end was not in salvation, but in the chilling realization that some games never end, but merely escalate, drawing new participants into their eerie reality. The Lost Peppa Pig episode that never aired. A sunny day illuminated Peppa Pig's house, filling it with familiar laughter. Peppa and George played in their room, where a bunk bed stood against the wall. George below, Peppa above. Mummy Pig cooked in the kitchen, and Daddy Pig read the newspaper in the living room. Everything was as usual, but a slight, almost imperceptible tension hung in the air. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Susie Sheep stood on the doorstep, but her gaze was unusually empty, and her movements stiff. She didn't smile as always, nor did she jump with joy. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig, and Daddy Pig went for a picnic by the lake. The water was dark and still, reflecting the gloomy sky. They spread their blanket, but the air was heavy, foreshadowing something ominous. In the distance, an old, abandoned boat was visible, its outline appearing sinister. George pointed at the boat, his eyes filled with curiosity and fear. Peppa felt a chill, but curiosity prevailed. They approached closer. The boat creaked in the wind. Something stirred inside the boat, making strange sounds. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig felt uneasy. Suddenly, Spider-Man leaped out of the boat, his suit torn, his gaze full of terror. Venom followed him, his black mass pulsating, absorbing the light. Venom extended tentacles towards Peppa, her heart frozen with fear. Spider-Man stood in defense, but venom was too strong. The boat began to sway, threatening to engulf everyone. The pig family rushed to flee, escaping the horror. They ran without looking back until the boat disappeared from sight. At home, they couldn't sleep for a long time, remembering the terrifying encounter. The lesson was learned: not all adventures end well. The lost Peppa Pig episode that never aired. Peppa Pig's house was enveloped in an unusual silence. Gloomy shadows danced on the walls, creating ominous patterns. Peppa and George played in their room, where a bunk bed stood against the wall, George on the bottom, Peppa on top. Suddenly, a strange, distorted sound emanated from the old speakers. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig froze, listening to the growing noise. The sound grew louder, penetrating every room of the house. The speakers began to glow with an eerie red light. Peppa and George felt an inexplicable fear. The speakers pulsed, emitting a piercing wail. The pig family watched the speakers in horror. Suddenly, the speakers exploded, leaving only silence. The pig family remained in shock, realizing what had happened. The silence was deafening, but now it seemed even more ominous. The sunny day illuminated Peppa Pig's house, filling it with familiar laughter. Peppa and George played in their room, where a bunk bed stood against the wall, George below, Peppa above. Mummy Pig cooked in the kitchen, and Daddy Pig read the newspaper in the living room. Everything was as usual, but a slight, barely perceptible tension hung in the air. Suddenly, a strange image flickered on the TV screen. Peppa and George froze, their eyes wide with horror. Something dark, ominous moved through the city. It was looking for something, and that something was very close. Daddy Pig felt uneasy, putting down his newspaper. Mummy Pig froze by the stove, listening. The ominous shadow approached their house. The knock on the door repeated, but now it was louder, more insistent. Peppa and George hid under the bed, trembling with fear. The shadow seeped through the cracks, filling the room. It was looking for them, and they knew it. Their hearts pounded like drums. The shadow approached the bed, its outlines becoming clearer. It was something terrible with sharp claws and burning eyes. It stretched its tentacles towards them. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig rushed to protect their children. They tried to scare away the shadow, but it was too strong. Its tentacles wrapped around them. The shadow consumed them, leaving only emptiness. Peppa and George were left alone. Their world collapsed. They cried, but their tears were silent. Suddenly, a bright light illuminated the room. A hero appeared in red and blue. He was strong and fearless. He came to save them. The hero fought the shadow, his movements swift and precise. The shadow retreated, its power weakening. Hope returned to the children's hearts. The shadow disappeared, leaving only a cold trail. The hero smiled, his eyes shining with kindness. He saved them, and they were grateful. Peppa and George hugged the hero, their fear gone. They understood that even in the darkest moments, there is hope. It is important to be brave.